Welcome to this neighborhood, neighbor.
I am the Martian ambassador.
Des Moines and all of Central Iowa, welcome to Max World Live. Max World is your world. Every day we talk about the issues and topics that matter most to you. And as always, it's your voice we want to hear in Max World. So join the conversation by calling 515-244-0077. And now, here's the host of Max World Live, J. Michael McCoy.
All right, good afternoon. I did it again. 7 minutes after 3:07 on a, 3:07 on the 18th day of March in the Lord's year 2016. J. Michael McCoy, glad to be with you. Fridays are always 15% more fun when you're here, and today is going to be an interesting show. But first, a new cast member to introduce you to, the lovely Carrie Smith is here. You may or may not hear Carrie's voice. You can say something if you want. Carrie's a friend from Testify, and she brought, look at this. Can you zoom in on this? For you radio people, I'm holding up my favorite cookie of all time in the world. It is a soft oatmeal butterscotch with chocolate chips. Soft. Did you notice they were soft?
I did notice that they were soft, yes.
They're pliable. And there's a secret to that. And Carrie knows that secret, and so she made me some. But I'm sharing them with everybody. Everybody can have some. So thank you, Carrie, for doing that. And if Carrie wants to talk on the radio, you just have to turn the mic your way. There you go. And then you just say hello.
Hello.
There you go. And Carrie is you're like a train engineer?
I'm a conductor.
You're a train, and for a big train?
Correct. For freight trains, correct.
Freight trains. Mm-hmm. How in the heck first of all, it has to be odd that a woman would do that job.
It is.
Why? I mean...
I just knew they were hiring, and I'm not good sitting at a desk and answering a phone all day, and it works for me.
Does it?
Yeah.
Good.
Yeah.
Good.
It's got its downfalls, but mostly it's good.
Do the men treat you with respect?
Mostly, yes.
Okay.
Yes. It's kind of generationally motivated, but yes, for the most part, they're very, very, very good.
Are old guys like me nicer and polite, or is it the young kids?
I would say the older generations are a little, and because I'm a little bit older, also maybe that's why we get along a little bit better too.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well,
yeah.
I appreciate you being here today, and you chime in whenever you want.
All right. Thanks.
Can I ask an ignorant question, Carrie? Does that mean you drive the trains in?
No, the engineer drives the train.
Right.
I'm the conductor. I would, if we would have cars to set out at an industry, I'm the one who gets out and sets the cars out or puts it back together or builds the train. They move the train back and forth.
Gotcha. Okay.
So I've seen her do this, and what Carrie does, have you ever heard of the term "put your back in it"?
Sure.
So she'll unhook the train, and then she'll push the train back, and then she puts her hands behind, and she just lifts up the train, and then she moves them around and puts them on the other track, and then puts them down.
Carrie shook her head as though to say that that's not exactly how that works.
Well, maybe not exactly.
What's in those cookies you're eating?
Hey, you made them. All right, and the other thing here is next hour we're going to have a wonderful guest, Debbie Hitchcock. She is the co-author of the book 40 Days to a More Fulfilling Relationship with Your Tweens and Teens. And I'm going to listen and learn, because that's where all my grandkids are. They're kind of in that, except one's one, so that probably doesn't count. But it's going to be a good interview. Phone lines will be open. The Service Legends Truth text line will be open. If you have any questions about raising children or grandchildren, this is the day to call. She's an expert. She's written a book. Hopefully you'll choose to get the book. But more than anything, you can call in and you can relate your personal experience. For instance, let's just say for a moment here that Chris's daughter would call in. Well, what's her name again? Kate.
My daughter, yeah, uh-huh.
She's 7.
Yep.
7?
Yes.
Did I get that right?
You did.
So she would call in and she would say, Dr. Hitchcock, and she'd say yes. And she'd say, well, my daddy is a really nice guy, but he's snarky. And I don't know what to do with that snarkiness. And sometimes he's snarky in public, and I get embarrassed and I pray for him. What should I do? And then Dr. Hitchcock would answer back what your 7-year-old daughter should do with a snarky father.
Gotcha.
That's what it's about.
Can I ask her that question then? I'll write that down and remember to ask Mrs. Deborah Hitchcock.
And ask her what?
How should my daughter deal with me, her snarky father?
Well, here's my fear.
Yes.
I think she's picked up on the snarkiness.
Oh,
I think
my daughter?
Yeah.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, she's just like you.
Oh, totally, yes.
So maybe it's your wife that should call in as the poor victimized person here.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
All right.
Yeah.
All right, but before we get going on all that, I want to talk to my friend Craig Robinson, who writes a blog for the Iowa Republican, and he kind of nailed it right between the eyes this morning after the news yesterday that Congressman Steve King is getting a primary challenge. Now, it's one thing to get a challenge in the general election when a Democrat will try to take that House seat, that seat that he's had for 14 years. But when someone within your own party, and I believe even a former supporter of King's, comes after you, well, Craig, speaking of snarky, King got a little snarky, didn't he?
He did. I thought the tone and tenor of his press release caused me to rewrite my story. I had kind of written what I thought about the primary shaping up, and I had mentioned some things, but I didn't really. I thought it would take a lot of work to elaborate on what I was actually getting at. And then this press release comes from the King campaign, and I thought, here's some examples. So I went back in, rewrote, probably added 500 words to the original piece, and because it does seem to me that King is annoyed, or Rick Bertrand, who's primarying him, this has gotten under his skin a little bit, and you can tell that just by reading his press release about it.
Yeah, and I'm going to your site, by the way. It's the IowaRepublican.com, and you and Kevin Hall are regular contributors to this. And what are some of the things that you found in the press release, which you and I have been around King for the whole time that he's been in office, and we certainly can detect a little bit of snarkiness. And what was it about the press release that really made you feel that way?
Well, there's a huge thing missing for it, where he's announcing, that he has filed the necessary petitions to be back on the ballot again. But he really doesn't mention about his kind of plans for the district moving forward, what he wants to accomplish for the district. This is a very kind of self-serving press release that talks about who he is, what he stands for, but not necessarily what he wants to accomplish for the district. So that's missing. But the thing there was plenty of is, he's suggesting that his primary opponent now has been somewhat bought off to run against him, and by this, kind of these, I think he called it petulant Republican establishment figures that want to own a congressman. And the ironic thing is, the people who are, I think, maybe the most upset with King, these are former supporters. These are people who have not only given to his campaign before, but they've organized major fundraising events for him. And so I think this is a little bit, besides who wins, who loses, I think this is a little bit bigger deal than most people maybe realize.
Craig Robinson is on the phone today. He's our special guest for this first part of the half hour. He will continue with us after the break, I hope. He's calling us from home because he has I guess it's not brand new anymore. She's about, what, 2?
He is 2 years old.
I'm sorry. Yes. I can't tell through the radio.
So he just turned 2 on March 8th. All
right. And but you can check out his blog, the IowaRepublican.com. And it seems to me that King, well, let me back up. Was Bertrand a supporter of King's? Because it seems like that's also a point of irritation to the congressman.
Yeah, I believe he was one of King's county chairs that was released, I think, in 2012 and maybe even 2014. So this is someone who publicly backed King in a previous election.
And he's quite a big mucky muck himself in Sioux City. He is a commercial as well as residential developer. and has sat in the Iowa House for, I believe, I'm going to get this wrong. Is it 2 terms?
So he's in his second term in the Iowa State Senate.
Okay.
He ran for House initially in 2008 and lost, but was elected in 2010 to the Senate district. So this is someone who has been able to win a very difficult state Senate seat and hold it. He's kind of fits that maybe younger persona of politician. He's not a throwback. He's definitely kind of a more modern politician in terms of his style and his ways he communicates. So I don't know him well, but the limited times I've seen him speak in public, I've thought he's done a really good job.
Craig, this is Chris Roloff. I've got a question for you. I have not been following this too closely. In fact, Mac, I think, announced that this week. I did not personally see the press release that Steve King put out. But why is Bertrand, why is he running against Steve King? What is his primary motivation? Do you know?
Yeah, so if you look at the press conference he held yesterday, his main argument is that, King hasn't been an effective member of Congress for his district. That King is one who gets a lot of attention and national recognition for being a conservative and a rebel rouser, but when it comes to doing the things that his district needs or would benefit his district, he's not really bringing home the bacon, so to speak.
Craig Robinson, author of The Iowa Republican, is on the radio with us today. When we come back from this break, I'll read you a little bit of that press release from Congressman King, and we hope to hear from Congressman King next week here in the studio, live here on The Truth. Yep, 99.3.
Credit cards are like grandkids. They love you, sometimes get out of control, and it's fun to get a new one. Who can stop them from piling on?
Hi, I'm Tom Coates with Consumer Credit of Des Moines. At the end of the day, you can return the grandkids, but you're stuck paying off bad credit card debt. We'll help you put the fun back into using credit cards responsibly. Right, kids?
Yeah! If you need help getting credit cards off your back, call Consumer Credit of Des Moines.
Hi, my name is David Burrier, your Hope Coach. I host a live weekly talk show called I've Been There every Thursday afternoon at 5:30, right here on webcast1live.com, and on my weekly radio program Saturday mornings at 10 on Truth Network 99.3 FM. I interview common everyday people who have survived incredible life challenges and who testify to God's faithfulness in the midst of their storms. So join me as we bring a message of hope and encouragement. Everybody needs hope. I know, because I've been there.
Hey everybody, I brought Northern Lights Pizza! And it's got Graziano sausage!
Rock and Prevention is celebrating 25 years of creating a caring community. We want to say thank you to the tens of thousands of Rock High School mentors that have carried our message of health, love, and encouragement to over 1.5 million children, teachers, and parents. Our mentors teach children methods and skills to prevent bullying and drug use. Thank you to all the school administrators, teachers, and counselors for their opportunity to serve you. Rock on, fair citizens. Rock on. This is Pat McManus for Rock and Prevention, the Richard O. Jacobson Foundation, and this station.
From the RE/MAX Real Estate Concept Studios, this is Webcast 1 Live.
21 minutes after 3:21 on the 18th day of March in the Lord's year 2016. And what a great weekend for Des Moines. I mean, the weather's great. We had the NCAAs yesterday. We've got the NCAAs tomorrow. We've got the big St. Patty's Day parade today in downtown Des Moines. For all the amateurs out there that think this is a good day to go out and test their blood alcohol level, it's just crazy. The weather's good. But listen to this. Police report almost zero problems in downtown Des Moines yesterday.
That's good news.
Yeah, hopefully that'll hang, today also.
I was going to say, I wonder if that's just because the parade didn't happen yet.
Yeah, probably. But you remember, you've got a tremendous amount of young people here, and young people are college-age people. And so, you would kind of associate that if you had 2,000, 3,000 young people on the ages of 19 to 25 in town, you'd think that would disrupt it a little bit. But I think it's probably more old, gray-haired Irishmen like me who will be out causing problem tonight.
Unfortunately,
yeah, this is a good night to just stay home. If you usually stop someplace and decide you're going to have a beer or whatever you do after work, this would probably be just a good day to go home and kiss the babies, not mess with all that other stuff. All right, later on in the program, Debbie Hitchcock, who co-authored a book, 40 Days to a More Fulfilling Relationship with Your Tweens and Teens. Boy, as a grandpa, I need to hear this. She's going to be on with us starting at 4:06, and you'll be able to call in and ask any questions you may have of her as she wrote this really good book, and we'll have her on live. By the way, the book is pre-ordered now through Barnes & Noble, Amazon, CBD, and others. All right, Craig Robinson is on the phone with us. Craig is the author of, I think it's one of the better blogs. But I like Craig as a person also. Some other people that write blogs, I'm not really a fan of their as a person, but they write well. But Craig's a great guy, been on the show for a long time. Never lets me pull any punches on him, which is what I really like about him. And he has written quite an interesting blog on Steve King, given the fact that he's being challenged primarily. And I don't mean primarily as in primarily, but in the primary, not necessarily the general election this fall. I don't recall, Craig, has King ever been challenged in a primary of late, the last few elections, or is my memory slipping and it happens almost every time?
No, not at all. He won his seat in Congress by winning a contested primary when the seat was open, but he's never been primaried since then.
And I don't hang around enough with politicians, I guess, but it seems that King is taking personal offense to this. Or is that just his M.O.?
No, I think that's a little bit out of character for him, but he definitely is. And I think that, sometimes when we have this presidential campaign that sets up shop in the state for a year and a half, sometimes, I think that, and this is true of both sides in this situation, where sometimes maybe the critique of the presidential candidate, some people take those things personally when you are a big-time supporter of that candidate. And so I think there's a lot of hangover, I think, from this past caucus campaign that is in all of this. Not necessarily that's the motivation from Bertrand, but I think that is some of the ill feelings of why there's maybe an environment where people are looking for this to happen.
Craig, this is Chris again. So if I'm understanding you correctly, it sounds like what I'm hearing you say is that because Steve King was so supportive of the Ted Cruz campaign here in the state, obviously a big supporter. I mean, on the night when he won the caucus here, I remember Steve King being on the stage with Ted. I mean, he just looked elated.
Yeah.
I mean, he was ecstatic, and he wasn't just passively involved. He was actively involved, and still is, I believe, actively involved in supporting Ted Cruz. And what I think I'm hearing you say, Craig, though, is that was maybe disappointing and upsetting to some Republicans here in the state. Is that right?
Yeah, especially when you look at the renewable fuels industry, which again King has been a champion of.
That's messed up.
Ted Cruz has not, and so that is a bone of contention that King went around campaigning with Cruz, telling Iowa voters, look, he's fine for the renewable fuels industry. And the renewable fuels industry completely disagrees with that. And Ted Cruz, for his part in this, ever since he's won Iowa, he has gone on debate stages and on election nights in other states saying that he took on the ethanol industry in Iowa and won. So that's why I think there's some bad blood here that is kind of running. That's the undercurrent of this whole primary change.
And Craig, but doesn't that go then to, and again, I haven't read the press release. I think Mac is going to read some of it here in a minute, but doesn't that go to make sense why Steve King might feel the way he does about Bertrand here running against him, saying, look, this sounds like this is in fact the establishment here in the state of Iowa, the established Republican Party, saying, Mr. King, Congressman King, you've gone too far. You've gotten too excited about this Cruz guy. You've gone a little extreme. I think it's time for us to shut you down. I mean, it seems like maybe Steve is feeling right things then.
Well, I would say this. You can feel those things, and I understand why he would feel those things. I think it is a mistake to act on those and to bring that out in the campaign. I'll be honest, I was shocked by the tenor of this press release, because if you're the incumbent, you got to rise above it. If you're being challenged, you need to be the statesman. And I think even if you are justified in feeling the way you do, it's not always a good thing to act on it, to talk about it publicly so much, because you're actually going to, feed into maybe some of those sentiments that are already out there against you. I just think it's a bad move for him to do.
Craig Robinson's on the Service Legends Truth text line. No, he's not. He's on the call-in line at 515-244-0077, and you're welcome to join us. Also, you can text us thoughts, if you have them, at the Truth text line, brought to you by Service Legends, and that's 515-809-0993. Here's a bit of the press release, but I need to write a little something Craig wrote, because Craig is truly a good writer. All right, it's one thing to be able to have the thoughts; it's another thing to be able to put them on paper. I'm not a good writer. I can sit here and passionately pull on your heartstrings on the radio or give you information. But when I go to write it, I'm no good. But here's a paragraph before the press release, and then I'll go into the press release and then a little after that. Craig writes, besides fundraising, another King liability is message discipline. Just look at the press release his campaign sent out yesterday evening. It was petty and defensive. It said nothing of what he hopes to accomplish for the 4th District, and instead read like a "how dare they challenge me" letter. Here's a paragraph from that news release. Over the past few weeks, calls from a surprisingly number of potential candidates who were asked to challenge me in a primary by a couple of wealthy and petulant establishment Republicans who think they should own their own congressman. In every case but one, the answer was a resounding no. Then Craig goes on to write, what King fails to mention is that those petulant establishment Republicans are also constituents who have donated to his campaign and organized fundraising events for him in his previous 2 campaigns. King is obviously bitter and distracted by a couple of individuals instead of his actual opponent. Very well written, Craig. Good job.
Thank you.
All right, so have you ever heard Bertrand speak? Or he looks good. He looks like Ken, from Ken and Barbie.
Yeah, look, he's not one of these Toastmaster speakers that it sounds good and then you realize there's no substance. I think that he's a business person and he knows how to communicate. I think especially to people like him, who are in their 40s, who have young families and who own businesses, who are trying to make a living. So I think he does a really good job of relating to people. I think the difficult thing for him in this race is he has to, walk this tightrope of running for Congress in a primary where people are going to say, "Why are you doing this?" And so he's going to have a really good answer as to why it's time to move on from King. Not an easy thing to do.
Well, he could just come up and say, "Well, we need to make Iowa great again." And I mean, look what I've done in Sioux City. I've done all that. I can do anything. I can be great again.
Well, let's talk. Another big issue in this campaign is you've already seen some of the King allies have attacked Bertrand for he supported the 10-cent gas tax increase. Now, most of the money from the gas tax increase has been poured into western Iowa to finish Highway 20 to make it 4-lane. It's a difficult vote. It's one that Bertrand voted for. King, by the way, is on record saying, "Boy, that's a tough one. I don't know where I stood on it." I think this is an issue, too, where Bertrand can say to his district, "Look, I know that Republicans don't like tax increases and all that stuff, but I took a vote that was in the best interest of the district, not the, that keeps me pure and 100% rated on some conservative list. I did what was important to you and to our future and to our economy." I think that's the argument that he's going to push forward, too. So it's going to be interesting to see how King deals with this gas tax Highway 20 deal, because King's been a champion of Highway 20 ever since running the first time. And here it is. Bertrand was part of the effort in Iowa to pump funds into there to finally get it finished.
Yeah, Bertrand is on record in saying that Highway 20 will solidify northwest Iowa as the new economic frontier in Iowa. His vision is intended to expand and solidify the region's agricultural standing in the world. Bertrand voted for a 10-cent increase in Iowa's gasoline tax last year to help spur the completion of the U.S. Highway 20 project that he's already taken some criticism from fiscal conservatives for it. Because, Republicans don't like taxes raised, and they have a tendency to remember that. All right, Craig, any last thoughts here? We've got about a minute and a half. How do you think everything's going on a national level with Mr. Cruz and Mr. Trump?
Well, I think it's kind of crazy. We have a contest on Tuesday, Utah and Arizona, which I think Cruz wins one, Trump wins one. The thing to look for is Trump has a better schedule in the month of April than Cruz does, and so Cruz is going to have to withstand this race really going up into the Northeast in territory where is not really favorable to him. And so he's going to have to withstand an entire month where he might not find victory.
Trump, you mean?
Cruz,
okay. Yeah, okay, good. That makes sense. The other thing that I think is interesting, and only a guy that looks at the world through a biblical worldview would have noticed this, but do you happen to know how many delegates Donald Trump sits on as we speak?
I think it's 646.
666. 666.
Bum, bum, bum.
Craig, it's always a pleasure to have you on. You are a wonderful writer and a wonderful friend of the program, and most importantly, you're honest, and I appreciate that. Thanks for being so genuine.
Thanks, Mac. Great to be on.
You bet. Craig Robinson, the Iowa Republican. If you are a person, I read everything. But if you're a person that just wants to selectively choose a few blogs to kind of get your taste for what's going on in politics, put Craig on your list. Please do. Maybe for the rest of the year, read his new blogs every week, and I think you'll move it to the top of the list. All right, when we come back, a waitress gets stiffed on a tip in a Des Moines restaurant, and the customer writes, "If you look normal, I'd tip you." Ooh, what does that mean? Next.
Northern Lights Pizza's amazing garlic butter makes amazing breadsticks. Now available in 12-ounce bottles at Northern Lights, Hy-Vee, and Graziano's.
Northern Lights Pizza. I'm Brian Leach, owner of Service Legends, and my position is Chief Talent Officer.
I'm Nicholas Wonderscheid.
I am Bernie Homs.
And I'm the Service Manager.
Marketing Director and Client Relations Manager.
Everything that we do is about ensuring that we exceed your expectations.
Our clients are important to us. 100% satisfaction.
We're not just focused on heating and cooling. That's the easiest part of our job, actually, is fixing furnaces and air conditioners.
Everyone that we come in touch with, we want to improve lives.
Bottom line is, we've got our installation guarantees, 25% energy savings guarantee, comfort guarantee, temperature selection guarantee, property protection guarantee.
100% satisfaction guaranteed, fixed rate or it's free.
All of those guarantees are backed up with a 100% money-back guarantee to hold ourselves accountable to making sure that you get what you're after.
Just fixing the problem today. If they have another problem 5 days down the road, it's still fixed right or it's free.
We use what's called straightforward pricing. Our technicians are going to give you an exact to-the-penny price on what it's going to take before they move forward with any repair. That way you know what to expect.
It's the same price every day.
No surprises.
If you get off work at 5 o'clock in the afternoon, you come home, you realize that, oh, my furnace is broken. Now you need to call somebody out that night. You shouldn't have to pay more for that.
We're guaranteeing service 24/7.
We run afternoons, evenings, nights, weekends. We're staffed to work that.
Phone rings at 3 in the morning. You'll get one of our representatives answering the phone every time.
We're not sending you out to Timbuktu in some call center. It's our Service Legend team members, our mission control team.
I'll take a call anytime.
And then they answer the phones the same way during the day as they do at night.
It's a great day at your service company. How can we make you smile?
That's the only way to provide true 24-hour service.
When you're able to let somebody actually live in their home safely when they weren't able to do that before, where they don't have to stay up at night and worry about, is the heat going to come back on? Are we going to freeze the pipes? Is the baby in the room next door going to be sick because they got too cold? When you're able to help somebody overcome challenges like that, that's impacting a life. That makes a difference. I get goosebumps thinking about it.
I love the team. I love the people that I work with.
We have fun, but we work hard.
I call them my ambassadors of legendary service. If you could just envision what that is, that's who we're sending to your home.
They literally will call in, pick up the phone and call and say, hey, I want to talk to your manager. And I get on the phone, they're like, that technician that was at my house was the greatest technician ever. That's cool to me.
We want to brighten people's days.
Every person that we have going into the house has gone through an extensive background check.
Drug testing, we have a very thorough interview process that 1 out of 140 people make it through.
If we promise you something, that's what you're going to get, no matter what.
We're here when you need us to protect the safety and comfort of your family.
If you're not happy, we're going to make it right.
If we're willing to put 100% money-back guarantee on what we do, what type of work do you think we do?
Give us a call. We're there for you 24/7, 365 days a year.
Enough said.
.338, 22 minutes before the top of the hour. Salem Radio Network News at the top of the hour. And then a young lady that I think you're going to thoroughly enjoy. Debbie Hitchcock is her name. She lives in Ohio. We've had some telephone conversations. She and my friend Nina Rosner has written a book, With All Due Respect, 40 Days to a More Fulfilling Relationship with Your Tweens and Teens. It's got a release date of August 2nd. You can now pre-order through Barnes & Noble. But let's wait. Let's see if she deserves your pre-order. Let's wait and see if you think this book may be something you could help with, or it might be a perfect gift to give to your daughter or son as they're raising kids. Be careful that you have the kind of relationship that you can to give a book like that to your kids. There are some kids that would see that as mom or dad interfering, and you certainly don't. Well, go ahead and interfere. You know, seriously. I do my best not to interfere with my kids and the raising of my grandkids. And every once in a while, my daughter gets mad at me and says, that's not a grandpa responsibility. And unfortunately, there's not much I can say except wait till you have grandkids. And then you'll realize every bit of your life is either a dad or a grandpa responsibility, right? You can't get away from that stuff. All right. So we'll have Debbie on in the next hour. 515-809-0993 is the number for you to text us at the Service Legends Truth text line. And also you can call in and join us. It's your voice we want to hear at 515-244-0077. Before we leave the King comment and conversation, we have kind of ran out of time, and you had something else to add, Chris.
Well, I was just, I appreciate Craig Robinson from the Iowa Republicans' comments, and I need to read all of the press release from Steve King. But one of the things that struck me when, Mac, you read some of the press release was the rhetoric reminded me much of the way in which our current presidential race has sounded. It sounded much like the extreme anti-establishment rhetoric that gets people excited right now. People that are for Trump, people that are for Cruz, want to hear this. Oh, the big elites, the rich people trying to tell me what to do, trying to buy me off, trying to buy an election, trying to own things with their money. We're not going to take that anymore. That kind of rhetoric, I'm not politician, obviously, so that wasn't very good. But that kind of rhetoric seems to be common, everyday place in the political race right now for president. And so my limited knowledge of Steve King is a lot of his base, I assume, are Ted Cruz supporters. He came out and supported Ted Cruz, so I'd imagine a lot of Steve King supporters are also Ted Cruz supporters. And the language in that press release just made me feel like something Ted Cruz would say.
Yeah.
I mean, that has that kind of rhetoric to it. So it might appeal to his base. I mean, it might offend some, but he's also being run against. So he's probably going to have to offend somebody at some point, because there's a reason Republicans are running against Steve King. And he's coming out full swing from the get-go. It might actually help him with those who are Steve King supporters.
What we've got to be so very careful of is that this rude, uncomplimentary discourse that's happening on the national stage between the Republicans does not somehow give Senate or congressional races permission to act the same way. Because as Republicans, we do really look silly. And I'm not saying that through the eyes of a Democrat or the eyes of an independent. I'm saying that as a lifelong 56-year Republican.
Sure.
Now,
I agree with you. I'm saying, yeah.
It's what America wants. And the minute we forget that, then we've become the problem. We've become the establishment who says, well, we can't have a guy like Donald Trump president. Wait a minute. We are a republic. We elect our officials. Donald Trump is winning. I'm not going to say hands down, but he's winning the popular vote right now. If we say he can't be the guy, then we're the problem.
Because we're trying to control, if we're the establishment and we're trying to control the election, then we're not giving voice to the people. I think I agree with you. I was having a conversation here in the radio station hallways with Tamara Scott earlier today. She was here at the radio station. And this is one of the things that she caused me to think about. You know, no matter what you think of Donald Trump, and I'm not a Donald Trump supporter myself. I didn't caucus for Donald Trump. You nailed it, Mac. This is apparently what the people seem to be wanting.
Yeah.
And who am I to say, well, they can't think that way? That's the way they think. If the majority is thinking that way, that's the way the majority is thinking.
Let's take a look at the last 8 years with Barack Obama. Now, I'm going to say some things that are probably going to be offensive to some people, and I don't mean to offend you. This is just my take. Barack Obama did nothing but lie to us while he was on the campaign trail. Over and over and over, he promised he'd do things. I'm going to close Gitmo. I'm going to be the most transparent administration ever. I'm gonna. And we bought it, hook, line, and sinker. He did the opposite. It's kind of what Democrats do. They kind of tell us what we want to hear, and then they just do whatever they want behind the scenes. Republicans, on the other hand, kind of put it all out there. We really talk too much. And we get really cranky when things don't go our way. But rather than fight childishly, we bring on the oomph. You know, we call in Mr. Green Jeans. We call in not Green Jeans, who's the Hulk. We call in the Hulk, and right now the Hulk is Donald Trump. You paint Donald Trump green and take off that funny hair he's got and just put him in a green jumpsuit, he's going to look like a big Hulk. And right now Americans are in love with the Hulk. Because we're sick and tired of being sick and tired. We're sick and tired of 8 years of Barack Obama telling us he's going to do something and then lie to us. And when he doesn't get his way, he completely goes around the Constitution and does what he wants. Typical bully. We may get the Republican version of the Democratic Barack Obama. We may very well, God may be upstairs going, all right, guys. You want to you Republicans thought Barack Obama was so bad? Wait till you see what I give you. And it's a blink of an eye for God for 8 years. For us, it may be the end of my life. In my grandchildren in 8 years, in 8 years, all of my grandchildren except for 2 will be adults. So there's a generational change that'll happen, and maybe God's really got that good a sense of humor that he just wants to pay back Republicans and give us Donald Trump. Because in many ways, Donald Trump will do to the Republicans what Barack Obama did for the Democrats.
Well, it isn't interesting, Mac, that we are still a democratic republic, and we elect representatives.
Mm-hmm.
Think about that for a minute. That's the thing that's kind of got me a little up in arms here is no matter what I think of Donald Trump or no matter what I think of what's going on, the masses are speaking and they're saying something. Mm-hmm. And that's, I think, what we need to hear. More so, to me, more than what Donald Trump is saying and doing and all that, I think what the masses are saying in the United States, that's the thing that I think that those of us who care about our country, care about our neighbors, want to love our neighbor, want to serve each other, that's what we've got to hear. This is what they want. But kind of back, if I could take one step back, though, to the Steve King comment. Again, and I hope we get Steve King in next week. He's a fan of the station. I know he's happy to come in and be on the radio
I talked
program.
to Andrea today.
Good. But I just wonder if that same rhetoric in his press release, though, is going to appeal to this same group of people who are just sick and tired of it. And they might just come out and continue to support Steve King.
Here's the key to the Republican Party this year. And this is not my thought. I'm not smart enough to come up with this. But the powers behind the powers to be, the real power, are saying whatever happens can happen until we get to convention and or primary. If we don't pull together after that, the Democrats are going to pick the meat off our dead bones. I mean, we will be like roadkill. That's going to be the key. Are we smart enough? And you and I have talked about this. You and your opinions are going to be an issue. I'm voting for the Republican nominee no matter who it is. You have a challenge with that, as many evangelicals do. If that split sits, we've got 8 more years of Hillary. That's 16 years of Democratic control. Kiss it goodbye. Kiss it goodbye. All right. So a waitress walks up to you at your restaurant you go into, and she's got piercings. She has sleeves of tattoos. She has tattoos coming out of her blouse. And her hair is an obtuse color. Does that impact what you feel about her and the service that she may give you? It did to one couple here in Des Moines. We'll talk about it.
From the RE/MAX Real Estate Concept Studios, this is Webcast One Live.
Credit cards are like grandkids. They love you, sometimes get out of control, and it's fun to get a new one. Who can stop them from piling on?
Hi, I'm Tom Coates with Consumer Credit of Des Moines. At the end of the day, you can return the grandkids, but you're stuck paying off bad credit card debt. We'll help you put the fun back into using credit cards responsibly. Right, kids?
Yeah! If you need help getting credit cards off your back, call Consumer Credit of Des Moines.
Rockton Prevention is celebrating 25 years of creating a caring community. We want to say thank you to the tens of thousands of Rock High School mentors that have carried our message of health, love, and encouragement to over 1.5 million children, teachers, and parents. Our mentors teach children methods and skills to prevent bullying and drug use. Thank you to all the school administrators, teachers, and counselors for their opportunity to serve you. Rock on, fair citizens. Rock on. This is Pat McManus for Rockton Prevention, the Richard O. Jacobson Foundation, and this station.
Northern Lights Pizza, your home of the tasty crust. Our garlic butter sauce now available in 12-ounce bottles at Northern Lights, Hy-Vee, and Graziano's.
Northern Lights Pizza.
Hi, my name is David Burrier, your Hope Coach. I host a live weekly talk show called I've Been There every Thursday afternoon at 5:30, right here on webcast1live.com, and on my weekly radio program Saturday mornings at 10 on Truth Network 99.3 FM. I interview common, everyday people who have survived incredible life challenges and who testify to God's faithfulness in the midst of their storms. So join me as we bring a message of hope and encouragement. Everybody needs hope. I know, because I've been there.
From the RE/MAX Real Estate Concept Studios, this is Webcast One Live.
It's just called Buffett. 3:50, 10 minutes before the top of the hour. You know, Ryan does such a good job of making sure that my mic is on when it needs to be on, and I forget sometimes that it's already on, and I say things. We were talking to our guest today, one of our guests in studio, Carrie, who is a conductor for the railroad, and Chris was trying to figure out what the name of the railroad was out in Northwest United States.
Right, in the Northwest United States.
And I said, just put a Buffett on it.
Yeah, that's probably what it is.
Doesn't he own most of them?
Yeah. Well, he owns BNSF. That's part
Burlington.
of Northern Santa Fe.
Okay. Did that come out of Burlington, Iowa?
Couldn't tell you.
Couldn't tell you.
I don't.
And who do you work for?
Union Pacific.
Union Pacific.
And that's Boone, right? That's based in Boone? No.
Well, I work out of Boone, but it's based out of Omaha.
Based out of Omaha, okay.
Yeah.
Well, it's not like it. It used to be there were so many train companies everywhere, and now we've got 2 or 3.
There's different classes of railroads. So the larger railroads are Class 1. There's only a handful of those,
Yeah.
and then there's a bunch of mom and pop small railroads.
And Buffett owns a lot of those. And as my daddy will tell you, when you get a chance to buy a Buffett stock, you ought to do it. He asked Tom Coates one time when he got offered to buy one of Buffett's stocks back in the 70s, and it was like $1,000 a share. Well, back in the 70s, if I spent $5 on a share of stock, I thought I was spending too much money, and Tom poo-pooed it. Well, that stock today is worth $300,000. Yeah. That $1,000
stock or something. I think it's his A stock.
Yeah. All right. So, Bob, you had a comment from the Service Legends Truth Text Talk line.
Absolutely. And the question is, what are your thoughts on Sam Clovis saying he will leave Republican Party forever if the establishment tries any shenanigans before or at the convention to deny Trump the nomination?
Is that question to me? Blah, 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 la, 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 blah, 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 blah. I love Sam. He's a great guy, but it's all political speak. It's all political speak. So,
you mean Sam Clovis' those comments or threats? That's just political rhetoric. You don't think he's going to say it?
No.
Stay with it. But But again,
Sam Clovis has a future in this state.
He does
in the Republican Party. He's not going to blow that on Donald Trump. For all I know, Donald Trump told him to say that. That's the kind of guy Donald Trump is. Here's what I want you to say. Can you say that, Sam? Yes, you can say it, Sam. So I will hear that you said that. Okay, Sam, I expect you to say it. And by the way, I'm paying you all this money, so you're going to say it. The way it is. All right, I want to hit this story because this story actually came out yesterday. And I just want some people's opinions, and you can throw your opinion up there on the Service Legends Truth Text Talk line at 515-809-0993, or you can call in and give us your opinion. You got about 7 minutes to do so at 515-244-0077. So I must admit to you, I was one of those people. I was one of those people that when people had piercings, when they had endless tattoos, when they had their hair was colored, and I don't mean you're a brunette and you decide to be a blonde. I mean you're a brunette and your hair is now purple.
Right.
And I was one of those people. And then God did what he always does with me, is he puts me in the most hypocritical situation and says, now what are you going to do? So my youngest son marries someone who looks like that. And then he kind of follows suit and he begins to look like that too. And so I decided that if my son looked like that, I wanted people to be nice to my son. And so I better be nice to other people.
Good attitude, Matt. Good attitude. Good on you.
I hate it. And I now actually what I'll do is I will say to someone who has a large amount of tattoos, I will say, oh, I like your body art. Can you tell me what that means and where does it come from? And I must admit, most of the time I get some great stories that touch my heart. As a restaurateur from many years ago, I judged people on one thing: the service they gave me, the service they gave their customers. But there was a couple who came into, of all places, Zombie Burger, and Taylor Beck was their server, and Taylor's a shining example of piercings and tattoos and different colored hair. The bill was $17.26, and on the tip line, written by the customer, was tips are only for normal-looking people, the patron wrote. Now, Taylor goes on, says, I didn't act on it. Someone puts hate out there, to respond in a hateful way will do no good. But I'm just curious if anybody in the studio would like to comment on it. Now, the first thing I would say, if you go to Zombie Burger and you expect your waitress to look like Mary Poppins, you're in the wrong restaurant. Mm-hmm. Zombie Burger is all about that look. From the customers, right down to the bartenders, right down to the servers. In fact, I would tell you they probably enjoy people looking that way because it does add to their flavor.
So in your opinion, she had tattoos, I didn't know that. But that would be normal in that type of restaurant?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely it would be. So, and Chris, you kind of come from a generation.
Yes, I do.
That, I mean, you have some tattoos.
Tattoo.
You just one? Oh, just the one on the arm?
Just
okay.
the one, yeah.
All right, but when you were younger, you dressed and had things like that, right? You had piercings and things.
I did have my ears pierced for a little while. I have the wrong kind of ears for that. I know that's a really weird
Dumbo
thing to
ears?
say. No, the bottom, here's radio visual for you. The bottom look at them. So the lobes of my ears are really fat and they don't lay against my head, so they kind of stick forward a little bit. Anyway, so earrings look funny because they don't hang down. They kind of go forward. Anyway, so I have weird ears. Thanks for pointing that out. I didn't have to tell that story. I'm going to stop talking now. But
don't you have that Boy George photo of yourself?
Yes,
that was Halloween in high school.
I was not Halloween. That was just your normal go to high school look.
It was Halloween, yeah.
All right, now, Carrie, so what do you think of those type of looks?
Well, I just saw a picture of Taylor.
Okay.
And I don't see anything that I would call out there.
Okay.
I'm kind of conservative when it comes to all that whole thing. We shouldn't be treating people differently just because they look differently. I mean, that's just so simple. But to withhold a tip from somebody who served you just because she's got tattoos and earrings, that's pretty sad.
Yeah.
That's pretty sad.
I agree.
I agree with your comment, Mac. This is a good one, Carrie. And I agree with your comment, Mac. If I went to Zombie Burger, I would be disappointed. In fact, I looked up the picture to look on my phone. I Googled Zombie Burger tip. You'll find a picture of her. I was disappointed. I wanted her to look much more far out than she looked. I think if I go to a place like Zombie Burger and everybody's straight-laced and boring looking, I would be disappointed.
It's the ambiance of the place.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, it's called Zombie Burger.
Well, she looks like somebody Ryan would go out on a date with, I think.
She doesn't look like it. Honestly, she's not out there. It's not extreme at all, in my opinion.
That probably speaks more about the customer than it does the page or the server.
Yeah, what were they doing in Zombie Burger anyway?
See, but I don't know. I don't know.
No offense, I've never been to Zombie Burger simply because I don't like the whole zombie thing.
No, I
like burgers though, but I don't. That's not. That's what I've heard. Great burgers, though.
Oh, phenomenal burgers.
Comedian Jim Gaffigan, in his book, his love affair of food, his book, he references Zombie Burger in Des Moines in his book. They're supposed to be good, so there you go.
All right, we're coming up on the top of the hour with Salem Radio Network News, and then when we come back, Debbie Hitchcock. She is the co-author of With All Due Respect, 40 Days to a More Fulfilling Relationship with Your Tweens and Teens. I can't wait. This is going to be a great conversation. I hope you partake in it, but at least, thanks for listening. I'm J. Michael McCoy. If I haven't told you lately, thanks for listening. Love this job. Couldn't do it without you. Right here on The Truth. Yep, The Truth.